Welcome back to Aaron's 1975 Datsun 280z. Thought I would introduce, again, new fuel injectors, new fuel rail, and out with the old, in with the new. Some of you might not realize this, but I actually drive this thing daily whenever I go back and forth to work. The problem is I haven't been here for the past 7 months, and well, whenever you start an old car, you really need to check it out before you start driving it again. So I tried to start it up after putting the battery charger on it, but I can smell gas. So let's go ahead and take a look and see if we can figure out what's the matter with it. I've already got an idea because, well, I looked at it before I turned on the camera. That's the way you look smart in front of your YouTube audience. So let's go ahead and check it out. So 1, I smell gas. 2, that looks fishy. I've already unplugged the injector to see what was happening there, but let's go ahead and turn on the key and see what happens. Looky there. We've got a nice stream of gasoline coming out of injector 3, which means that we've got some sort of injector stuck on somewhere. So either I've got to replace all these injectors, or I need to actually clean it out to figure out why it's sticking on and just leaking. But so let's go ahead and start working on it. Can't really move the car because it's not starting, and I don't want to have a big giant fire. So I'm going to have to do this here in my driveway, which is something that I'm not supposed to do, so don't tell anyone. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove all of the parts around to get to the fuel injector bar, which includes the fuel coming in and out, and the mounts from the rail to the intake manifold, and then each of the different injectors tied in here with Allen wrenches. Alright, so we've gotten the fuel rail out of the car. This is the injector that was leaking. I still don't know exactly why, but we're going to go ahead and start disassembling them and work on them. I had to look it up today. These run off of 3 volts to 3.5 volts. So we'll probably set up a, I'm going to set up a, whatchamacallit, a battery chain, like series of batteries to give me 3 volts, and then sort of jumper wire each of these. But first we're going to go ahead and take a look. I think that this injector is just bad, and we're going to find like a crack or something in it. So that's what we'll go ahead and do. I got Cooper joining me in the garage today. You can go ahead and say hi, Cooper, if you want.
Hi.
But so yeah, this is the fuel rail, PalNet fuel rail from for a 280Z or a 280ZX engine. Alright, hopefully you can see real quick, but you can see the air sort of bubbling out here. That is where it's leaking from. So I've got to see whether I can replace the seal or whether or not I just need a new injector. Now, everyone says that you shouldn't just replace one injector, you should replace all 6. Each of these injectors is like 80 bucks. So I haven't put a lot of money into the car lately, so it's not going to be that big of a deal if I have to order new injectors. But I'm going to go ahead and look to see whether or not I can replace this seal and maybe clean them up. The next thing I'm going to do real quick before I take it all off of this stuff is I'm going, oh, you know what? Look at that. This is actually cracked and busted here. All right. I mean, I had already sort of thought about replacing them anyway. It's not like, I've had the car for a while. Might as well do some maintenance on it. But yeah, that cracked injector. Figure out what I'm going to do exactly here. What in the world happened here? My car must be so excited to get a new fuel rail and injectors that it built it itself. Kidding, of course. I did this with time-lapse, doing similar to what Soup Classic Motoring does on his channel, which you should go check out. Car, you forgot the O-rings, some mounting hardware, some more O-rings. So what I'm going to be doing in the Z to move forward is I've bought some low impedance injectors from the Supra, so you're looking at the 440cc. I got this PalNet fuel rail set up using 11mm O-rings for the injectors, made by PalNet. Super good dude in the Datsun community, still making these fuel rails. You can buy them lots of different places. Definitely go hit him up and make for sure that you're supporting the community. But I've got to actually disassemble these because my car decided not to put any kind of sealant here on the ends. But thought I would introduce, again, new fuel injectors, new fuel rail, and out with the old, in with the new. So before I can install the rail, I need to seal both the barbed ends as well as the gauge into it. So we're using just some JB Weld. This is the long setup stuff, so I'm going to set it up, leave it overnight, don't put any fuel in this thing, leave it sitting, so that way it has its chance to seal up. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and put on some gloves so I don't get JB Weld all over me. Alright, well, bad news. I busted the JB Weld trying to get it open, so this is the last time I use this piece, or last time I use this container. But we'll go ahead and put out the hardener here on this. We'll go ahead and put, or excuse me, the steel, and then we'll move the hardener here. One of the things that we have laying around the house that I think actually works really well for this kind of stuff are either toothpicks or these little bamboo skewer forks. My wife has. Luckily, she's not going to be mad about me stealing just one. Get this nice and mixed up. And we're going to put it on here. Now make for sure that you don't get it in the ends, right? So you're just going to take it here, go like this. Okay, now see this side sort of came along the edge here, so I cleaned it up, make sure it didn't go there. And we're just going to make for sure to get it into the threads. And then very carefully screw it into the fuel rail. Now this is a 9/16. Okay, that's in there. Now we'll do this other side. Some JB Weld on this bad boy. Make sure we get in all the threads. A little bit more. Again, making sure not to place it there in the actual orifice. Bring it over to the side here. And careful not to drop it on the ground so you crap in it. There goes my PalNet sticker. Okay, finally here on the fuel pressure sensor. Again, making for sure not to get it on the orifice side. Now that I've done this, I'm going to go ahead and screw it in. Now this one especially, you're going to want to make for sure that where you place it gives you ability to easily read. This is a 7/16, and we're going to bring this to like that, where middle of the gauge is parallel with middle of the rail itself. Do a little bit more of a turn. Okay. Now I gotta let that set, and don't get impatient. Let these things sit. Move on. Find a different project to work on. Don't rush these kind of things. Otherwise, you're gonna find yourself cleaning up crap and gasoline from all over the place. For me, I'm gonna go start cleaning off the actual intake that I painted black many years ago. I'm gonna go ahead and strip that paint. This car is nice and dirty. I've still got the original O-rings or seals here in the engine, so I'm gonna pick those out with a pick, crazy enough, and then I'm gonna use a little bit of paint stripper and remove the paint that's already chipping on this intake. So first I'll stuff some rags down here so that way I don't get any crud into this area, and you can see it's pretty dirty, so we'll go ahead and work on that. So I've got the new fuel rail in, again letting these set up overnight, so I'm not going to put any fuel through the system, just even see whether or not it will pressurize. I can do that tomorrow, a solid 24 hours after the fact. This rail sits so much lower, and I put the clips on the back side here, so I've got to make for sure that I still put the positive to negative in the correct spot, but I will run the wires right here underneath the rail itself, and zip tie them sort of down over here, so that way sort of tuck them a little bit. So what I'm going to do before I put this all back in is I'm going to clean up this wiring, and I'm not just going to do this. I've got some sheathing now that I'll clear all this out of and put the new stuff in, so we'll do that as well as we move forward. But I hope you're liking what you're seeing. I don't get to work on my Z very much, and so I'm pretty excited that I've actually got work on the Z happening now versus just work on the 510. But I actually have to do this because this is my daily driver, and it's currently not driving right now, so I've got to borrow the wife's car in order to get to and from work. All right, so I've been waiting for a week and a half for all the parts to come in. Now that I've got all the parts in, I'll go ahead and sort of walk through them. So I have to, set up the new connectors for each of the different injectors. So I've got 6 of those. I've also got some heat shrink, different assorted sizes, some black tape, solder, some cutting utensils, as well as some sort of sheathing for the different wire looms. I also have a soldering iron and a heat gun. These are all sort of the tools that I'm going to be using to finalize the wiring. So first, If you look at the old wiring system, I thought I had done a good job of sort of cleaning it up and making sure it looked nice, but it looks like trash in my mind now, so I'm going to work on cleaning this up. So in the next portion of the video, I go ahead and rewire all of my injectors, but in order to do that, I also have to strip the wiring around the rest of the fuel rail. And I went ahead and ran it in some expandable sheathing to make it look a little nicer. While I don't think it saved any space overall, I do like the way that it looks, and I just figured now is the time better than any other time. You can see the mistakes I made whenever I was first doing this. I only had 3 different colors of wires. I had green, I had red, and I had black, and so I have a lot of splices in here of very similar color wires, so I have to be careful about what I'm splicing and turning it back together to make for sure that I do this all correctly. But let's go ahead and work through what realistically you're likely here to look into, which is, so open up your favorite tuning software. For me, it's MS Droid version 2, which I have on my Android, and then click Tuning inside of the main menu settings. Once you do that, you'll bring up this menu where you'll click on Basic Settings. Go ahead and click that. Alright, once you do that, you should get this screen, which is a drop down. You look at your engine constants 1. This will be where you set your required fuel. Alright, now that we see this, you see the numbers I already have in there. Go ahead and click Calculate Required Fuel. This will bring up another screen. Alright, through here you'll choose what you need to do. You'll go ahead and type in that information. Once you get that done, you're going to click the OK button down there at the bottom, and it's going to bring you back to this screen, Engine Constants 1, where you're going to click Burn, and that'll send it to the ECU, so that way your car will now have the new values. And just like that, that's all I had to do in order to get the settings changed for these new injectors inside my car. Sneak preview, the car started up and ran just fine. All this work goes on for quite a while. Pretty much what I did was I would cut a wire, I would then slip on the sleeve, and then I would resolder the wire in order so that way I didn't miss any. So twist them together, put a little solder on, put heat shrink over the top of it, and then move on to the next wire. I just did this over and over again until I got it done. The injectors are fed via a signal wire to each specific one, and then a common ground, which actually splits out and goes to all 3. I did that via these blue wires that you see, as well as the white wires went out to be sort of the large ground wires, and then the red wires and black wires actually were the signal wires that you see that are moved in. But it worked out really well, and I think the wiring looks nice, although it's not maybe as tucked as I would like it to be. I wish I could have a minimalist engine bay, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be what I need to do right now. I just need to get this car running. Also of note, those silicone yellow pieces, I believe I installed every single one of those backwards. So hey, don't be like me and actually maybe install them correctly. Maybe take 5 minutes to figure out how to install them. But this is just me working for the next minute or so as I wire in the injectors each at a time, and it worked really well. If you're wondering where I got the parts, I actually got them from Pro Tuners. That is the Denso Nippon fuel injector connector top plus middle slot. And I also got the injectors themselves from a eBay seller called Fuel-Injectors. He has a rating of 3,901,
and I was very pleased with all of those interactions. I got the fuel rail from PalNet, which I already talked about earlier in this video. None of these are paid endorsements. I just like the products that I use, and I also want to provide that information if someone wonders whether or not what I am using. As you see, I'm now sort of getting the car ready. I'm plugging back in the battery. I'm going to go ahead and get in the car and start it up, and you can actually see the video start to rumble a little bit as the car is started. That's it. Now let's talk about it.
Well, it's running. It started up on first key turn, and the cool thing was as you saw through the screenshots from Megasquirt, MS Droid, I didn't really have to do anything else. It's not leaking in the injectors, and it's actually idling really well. So now I'm going to go through and start adjusting a little bit, maybe working on some of the fuel stuff. But anyway, my car is running, and this is good news.